Hey, since you clicked on this video, you probably experienced the following. You are out and about in the woods, trying to make a fire, but everything is wet and damp. Nothing seems to work. Even the cotton you brought seems to be damp, through and through. But don't you worry, I've got your back. I'm gonna try to make a fire in wet weather, and don't be fooled by the sun, because it's about the only day of sunshine we have here after many weeks of dark and rain, and basically our forests still look like this. So it's very wet and very difficult to get a fire started, but I'm gonna show you some tricks that will increase the chances drastically. So the key ingredient to make a fire, even in wet weather, is preparation. Without good preparation, I'm assuring you will fail and you will perish in the cold. So I'm gonna try to find some dry wood and give some tips on how to make a fire even in wet conditions. Follow along. So as a first tip, look for dead standing wood. Dead standing wood has a higher probability of being dry, even when it rains, compared to laying wood on the ground. But before all that, it is best to gather some thinner material. I could make a whole separate video about this, but it's basically very fine material that is very flammable. Like this birch bark here. The oils in the bark will catch fire with a single spark. Okay, here we found a good piece of dead standing wood, and I'm gonna look if it is dry enough indeed to use. So I'm gonna grab my saw blade. As a rule of thumb as to how big to cut each branch, cut off pieces the length of your forearm, but no wider than wrist thickness. These are gonna be our fuel for the fire. The core of dead wood is often driest, so to get there we are gonna process our wood into pieces by betoning. You wanna have a handful of pieces Carter pink thickness as kindling material, then a handful of pieces that are pinky size, and work your way up to thumb size thickness. And I'm gonna see if it's dry enough. So as you can see, it is thinner than wrist length. So if I just scratch it at the surface, I can see that there is a little bit of sawdust coming out, and it's dry, so that's a good sign. I'm gonna cut it up. And one trick you can do is to feel if the inside is actually dry enough. You can hold it against your cheek, or and if it doesn't feel sticky or particularly cold, it's good enough to use actually. But we would want to leave out this one, so we can't beton it or split this one. So I'm gonna saw this off, and as you can see, it is around 4 arms length. Also important, we don't want to leave it on the ground so it can get wet. I'm just gonna lay it on my backpack so it can stay dry. Now, after cutting some more wood off, again 4 arm length, I'm gonna explain you in a bit why that is necessary. So another tip to know if it's dry enough, dry wood makes a different sound, like this one. It's very nice. As you can see, these ones make a very different sound, and we can say that these are soaked with water and not dry. This stuff, you can feel that this top still is quite dry, but here it starts to get wet already. So I'm gonna just leave this stump out here and not use it. very dry. Okay, so I gathered me some wood and I bound it on the outside of my backpack so it can dry a little bit more before I start processing it and making actual firewood from it. So now we're going to look for good spots to build our fire. So let's go. Okay, so I found myself a great spot, I think, to make a fire. I'm quickly going to set up a little shelter here to cover us from the wind or anything, and we're gonna start processing our fire to make firewood. So now we're going to go batoning. We have a nice knife that we can use, preferably pretty sharp, and we're gonna split the wood into our pieces that I told before, like a thumb, pinky and a wrist thick. So we're gonna start with the large one. We're gonna place our knife just about here. So if you can find the crack already, that's great, and that's important. We have another stick, we can smash it. So just gonna smash it pretty hard, and it should start splitting any second now. That's what we want. We want the dry core part of this, and that's very, very dry and very flammable. So we're gonna do it some more. The first time is always gonna be a bit more difficult, but once you get through it, it gets more easier as the wood gets smaller. It's no shame if it does not split all the way. We want to try that, but just try to split. So there we go. The more smaller sticks you make, the higher chance you will be at succeeding, because they are the most likely to get a flame on. You basically just pull with your lock and hold your knife steady so it can't slip into your leg. Just want to rotate a tiny bit each time so you get a nice clean shaving until you end up with something that looks like this, and that will catch a fire very fast. Now it's time to build our fire. I'm laying the large piece of wood on the ground to protect it from the wet ground. I'm scraping dry shavings from the wood that will ignite with only a small spark. This is my tinder. Time to add the birch bark I collected earlier. Time to add the birch bark I collected earlier for some extra juice. Now take your ferro rod and the back of your knife. The safest way of creating sparks is to hold your knife still and pull with your ferro rod. That way you won't accidentally destroy your tinder nest. It might take a while, but just don't give up. When you got a small flame, slowly lay a feather stick on top, but very slowly as not to suffocate the fire. Continue stacking your feather stick as you feel the fire growing more stable. Quickly creating more fire sticks can help to prevent your fire going out. At this stage, slowly start adding pinky-sized wood pieces onto your fire. Okay, so actually made it, but we're not there yet. Our fire can still go out very quickly, but the point is that we want to make embers, and once we got a layer of embers, it's pretty easy to keep it alive, but now it's very brittle. And yeah, so it can still fail, but we've gotten, there's coming a lot of wind in from this side, and that's actually feeding my fire pretty well right now. You see, the wood is still quite wet because it won't, yeah, it still wants to go out pretty quickly, but just we need to feed it small things. So I'm making some more feather sticks, or at least I hope so. So I think it's quite steady right now. It's not right there where I want to have it yet, and I didn't gather so much firewood because it's only for demonstration purposes, but yeah, you get the idea actually. So I'm just here making some more feather sticks that will really easy catch my flame. I hope you liked this video, and I'm gonna enjoy my campfire here, and I hope to see you in the next video. See ya!